Hey, what's going on, everyone? It's Flexing Joe back to review another day in the market. Alright, so a lot of action to review for Wednesday, November 27th, the day before Thanksgiving, so let's dive into it and we'll start with the VIX. So, looking at the VIX here, I have some higher time frame rips or clouds on. That's the hourly 3450. This is the daily, I believe it's daily 8 and 9. You know, the daily 8 and 9, the daily 9 EMA here is what we saw in this week's spike. But really just going into the open, what did we see, right? So we had where we closed. Looking at Monday, right, we gapped in down into Tuesday. Here's Tuesday's opening print. We reject that twice in pre-market and we start to come back down. Now, I actually had this drawn a bit differently on my default drawing set. I was looking like really in this whole area, just a little bit wider. But the main reason being that you see this sideways consolidation here. You see this big push up, comes back down, retests it, and then push, right? And then they hold a higher low here. So when we come back down and we start getting underneath this level, I'm looking to see this last area where there was some sideways consolidation before the pop, if this is going to create another pop. So going right into the open, which is the most volatile time of the day, it coming down into a key area, you know, can sometimes have an adverse reaction in the opposite way, and that's exactly what happened here. So you can see this is where the candle by candle flips long. Kind of a weird flip, right? Because it opens up here at 9:30. Remember, there's a few minutes gap in between these two candles. So it opens up here, it drops down, but then it still pushes back up. And now it's like sitting on where we closed. The next two candles can't flip the candle by candle back short, which would be bullish for the market. And you see that we're just bound to take off. We take off, we sit back down on the EMA cross here, and then we push all the way up. So, you know, this area of rejection, right? This is your daily 9 EMA. As well as, you know, we broke over this pivot area that I had marked on a prior video, a prior day. So we break over this, we break over it, and then we come back down and ultimately flip the candle by candle shortly after. And so it's a large rejection. So let's go into NQ. So I made some big mistakes with my trading on NQ on Wednesday. I think I really missed the bigger setup within the structure. So here's kind of what happens is, like, in the overnight session I was long and I took this trade long into here, and I had this area marked, right? I've talked about this area I think on yesterday's video when we talked about this rejection right here after the opening price on the 25th. So we rejected out of here again and we pushed down, and then we rejected off of like where we closed and off of VWAP, and then we pushed down. So kind of what I failed to recognize was in this area here. So yes, we had this gap up from Monday into Tuesday, and we held the golden zone of that gap and we pushed higher. Now when we failed to push higher above this this high of day, Tuesday's high of day, I should have expected that we were going to come down and test at least the previous day's low, which is exactly what happened, right? We came down, we test the previous day's low during our regular trading hours, we push up, come back down, then we push back up. So what I really missed is in this area, right? And I'll just delete this shaded box for a second. But you see, this was the first 10-minute candle of the day, and then you can see how we just kind of like wick up into that, and then we reject out of it hard, and ultimately candle by candle flips back short here, and then right into the open we're rejecting off of VWAP. Like, I'm gonna go down to the 2-minute candle chart in a second, just so you guys can see that, because it was a really nice setup for the short. One that, you know, I'm studying and committing to memory because I know it'll happen again. It'll be a great short opportunity, and it could be a great long if you just invert it, right? But here's what I missed, right, is that when we double bottomed here on the previous day's low, and then we get stuffed up here, we get stuffed really, like, if you want to look at like these as the stuck buyers, right? I mean, because this is price action is kind of thin, right? It's Globex. So if you want to look at these stuck buyers or whatever, we get stuffed right there, and then we can't push any higher, and then we lose VWAP. Instantly I should have been thinking like, this is a great short, and we're gonna at least break through this, at least test this, and we do, and then fill the gap, which we do, and then, you know, potentially you have these pivots where they're trying to hold the higher lows over VWAP, which we break those, and then of course coming down to the previous day's session low. So this is the regular trading hours low, this is the whole entire session low. Come down and break that as well, which breaking that gave us some really nice short opportunities as well, with a break in base here and then the second one here, which was really good. And then also for the long, this is a great setup as well to go ahead and like back test, put into your arsenal, what have you, right? This previous day's low break, right, and reclaim with the base and then push. This setup right here took you from 66 to VWAP. This was a good 60-point move right there. So pretty solid, right? And then not only that, they came back down and they gave you another entry here, which would have been an aggressive trade, but they took that again. So the buyers were willing to take that again, the bigger participants. And then obviously Thanksgiving was a partial day, and now here we are on Friday, and we'll review that in a separate video. But so you can see how just that was important there. But where I made mistakes is I think not recognizing the overall structure and understanding that we failed to break over this high, and because we failed and the sellers defended it, we were going to go to this low. And then of course we went to that low, because you can see we went to here, right? Next area of demand, pushed up, couldn't break a new higher high. It flushes, it fails back down, fails to other areas of demand, just chops, pushes lower. Now you have previous day low demand in the golden zone of that gap, and that was holding. But when that gap, when the outside of the gap here fails to hold right at the open, I knew that we were going to come down to the other side, and I don't know why I just didn't take it, but I was keen on taking the long here, and just playing the gap fill, and gap fill long bounce, and I just didn't do well with it. And then it just continued to move down, and moved down kind of messy, like, because it was moving down and then it would pop up, move down and then pop up, and then move down and then pop up. So these are some pretty, like this wick here, is about 20 something points right here, another 20 points. You have these like 20-point lower wicks that definitely definitely threw me off a little bit, and I was just off tempo right out of the gate, and the big mistake there is from right out of the gate. So if we go to that 2-minute chart, and wow, it actually stayed pretty close to where we want to be. This is what I'm talking about, like right here. So on this 2-minute chart, you can just see the constant rejection of VWAP, rejection. The sellers just sitting here, rejection, rejection, rejection. And that's the key, right? Is candle by candle was already short. They're rejecting off of VWAP, and it's a really solid short trade. If we look at it here on the 10, zooming in nicely, it's the same thing. You see how they failed to flip candle by candle back long here, again rejecting off of VWAP. So yep, that was NQ for the day. And then for ES, this rejection right here is very close to the all-time high. It's around the same time that NQ was rejecting. So we push up here, we lose, we come down through, lose the session low, push back up, right? If we look at this to this, yep, golden zone retracement. So sellers are in control from here to here, golden zone retracement, they step back in. So then you have from the session high to the pre-market low, the sellers are right here. I'm just gonna change these colors to show you like the golden zone, right? So the sellers are in control still, and we flip candle by candle short, and they are pushing up into here, pushing up into here. Again, I missed this. I was obviously watching for them to fill this gap, which if you look at the high of this candle, they like perfectly touched that gap fill, and I missed it. And this is like prime time short, because they fill the gap, they don't flip candle by candle, it closes back lower. Any of this pop right here, it's relatively comfortable to take the short, risking maybe this high here. So you're looking at 35 to 38, maybe 3-4 points. But if you're trading micros, it's even easier. And this gives you just a fantastic trade of a 20-ish point drop, 25-point drop. You get a really fantastic, and I'm going to turn off this higher time frame cloud here. It's hourly 3450. You get a really fantastic pre-market low break and base right there. I'll delete this fib. Then ES comes down and also fills that same gap that NQ had already filled that I talked about. So you saw that golden zone held here, tweezer bottom with VWAP. Now they filled that gap. And then once that gap is filled, you get the candle by candle flip long. They fail to flip it back short, and then it pushes back up. One of the things I talked about with NQ was, the previous day low break and base reclaim, which you got right here. And then they pushed up nicely back to the top of the gap. And then they actually almost send it all the way back down to the bottom before it gets bought back up. So a little bit, it's always like a little bit choppy through here. Like this can be a real big mess the last like half hour of the day. So, use caution. If it's trending and you're in already, then great. But yeah, I just grossly misread this day. It cost me a lot. Added some frustration. But in hindsight, there were some really, really clean setups. Like again, this fib from here to here is fantastic. I didn't actually try that on NQ. Let's check that out. Here was the pre-market low. Yeah. So it went down and held the golden zone pretty well. So I need to remember to do that and just take a better look at the structure before being so eager to jump into a trade. I had sort of a bias, if you will, of what I thought was going to happen, and it didn't. So lessons learned. Anyways, I appreciate you all for watching, and please don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll catch you in the next video.